How on earth did the Hebrew throne of ancient Egypt and Canaan end up in Great Britain under Queen Elizabeth II? Historically, a series of powerful invaders, the Philistines, Assyrians, Babylonians, and Persians, conquered the land of Canaan, which the Hebrews called Israel. The Hebrew tribes of Manasseh and Dan joined forces and became the Macedonians, or Macedonians. They fled to Greece with their gold and their riches. They wore white kilts like the Egyptian pharaohs, played goatskin bagpipes, adopted the Greek culture, and settled along the river Danube, which they named after the tribe of Dan. By 322 BC, their leader, Alexander the Great, reconquered Egypt and appointed his general Ptolemy I as the new Hebrew pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra was the last in a succession of Hebrew Ptolemy kings. Although Cleopatra is considered to be the last of the Egyptian pharaohs, author Ralph Ellis claims that Jesus was the last of the Hebrew pharaohs of Egypt. Jesus, a pharaoh? How is that possible? The historical facts show that the last pharaoh of Egypt was Ptolemy XV, who was nicknamed Caesarion, or Little Caesar. Born in 47 BC, Caesarion was the son of two of the most famous parents in world history, Roman ruler Julius Caesar and Egyptian pharaoh Cleopatra. When Caesarion's mother, Cleopatra, proclaimed herself to be the reincarnation of the virgin goddess Isis, Caesarion became the son of a virgin mother goddess. When Caesarion's father, Julius Caesar, was elevated to the status of god by the Roman Senate, Caesarion was recognized as the son of God and heir to God's kingdom, the Roman Empire. Caesarion was also recognized as the son of God in Egypt after his mother named him co-ruling pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra declared Caesarion to be the king of kings at the age of 13 during the donations of Alexandria ceremony in 34 BC. The face of history suddenly changed when Caesarion's father, Julius Caesar, was stabbed to death by his most trusted men. Octavian, the adopted son of Julius Caesar, swiftly seized power as the new Roman emperor. After Caesar's death, Cleopatra became romantically involved with a married commander from Caesar's army named Mark Antony. Mark Antony and Cleopatra parented 3 children, a twin boy and girl, followed by a second boy. Since Caesarion was Julius Caesar's son and the rightful heir to the Roman Empire, Cleopatra feared for his safety. When Octavian's mighty Roman army invaded Egypt, Cleopatra arranged for Caesarion's safe passage out of Egypt with her most trusted servants. Historians confirm that Cleopatra sent Caesarion to India. There are no historical records of Caesarion's fate, despite false rumors of his capture. Cleopatra's trusted servants who traveled with Caesarion became the boy's parent guardians. But who exactly were these parent guardians who Cleopatra entrusted her son to? Were their names Mary and Joseph by any chance? While Caesarion fled from Egypt with his parent guardians, Cleopatra and Mark Antony's 3 children were placed in the care of Mark Antony's wife. After suffering a crushing defeat against Octavian's invading Roman army, Mark Antony committed suicide by falling on his own sword. The devastated Cleopatra also committed suicide by a self-inflicted poisonous snake bite. While traveling undercover through Egypt with his parent guardians, Caesarion was forced to hide his identity and change his name. The Egyptian name for Jesus is Isu, which means the son of Isis. It can be found in Egyptian hieroglyphics. Matthew 2, verses 13 and 14 of the Bible tell a parallel story of the young child Jesus and his mother fleeing into Egypt with Joseph under the cover of night.
In the year 1887, a book was published in Russia which rocked the Christian world. It was vilified and condemned. It was called The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ. The writer, Nicholas Notovich, was a respected journalist. Notovich claimed his book was a factual report of a trip he made to the Himalayan mountains in remote northern India. Notovich may well have been the first outsider to make his way to Hemis, an isolated Buddhist monastery hidden high in the Asian mountaintops. Gaining the confidence of an elderly monk, he was shown ancient scrolls which tell the story of a scholar and prophet named Issa. In these secret records, Issa is described as a foreigner from a small Mediterranean country. The stranger arrived in India as a teenaged boy to study the teachings of the Buddha. And according to the scrolls, he lived here 500 years after the prophet Buddha died, a time that coincides exactly with the lost years of Jesus. Nicholas Notovich was convinced that Issa was Jesus of Nazareth, and that he carried back to his homeland the principles of Buddhism. Half a century after Notovich was in Hemis in 1902, a Hindu priest sought refuge in the same remote Indian monastery. He too translated the scrolls and published a work. His translation verifies the work of Notovich.
Ancient writings do exist from both Persia as well as India that Jesus did indeed travel to India, but we do not have 100% proof that he was there. The proof, however, does lie in his teachings when compared to sacred Buddhist writings.
The authenticated ancient scrolls found at the Hemis Monastery near Leh in Kashmir document the life of Saint Issa, leaving home at the age of 13, joining a merchant caravan, traveling the Silk Route, and arriving in India at the age of 14. The Egyptian word for Jesus is Isu, the Greek word is Iesous, and the Arabic word for Jesus is Isa. Issa continued his travels through India and Tibet and the holy cities, where Brahmin priests taught him to read and understand the Vedas. He learned Pali and studied the sacred sutras and how to cure by aid of prayer. He began teaching, performing miracles, and explaining the holy scriptures in monasteries and market bazaars. As an adult, Issa finally left India and Tibet and traveled to Alexandria, Egypt. Why Alexandria? Because that's where Issa, whose previous name was Caesarion, grew up. That's where he last saw his mother, Cleopatra, alive. Issa spent 3 years in Egypt before searching for his younger half-sister and 2 younger half-brothers fathered by Mark Antony. They had inherited land in Syria. Despite false rumors of their early deaths, historians confirm that Caesarion and his 2 half-brothers mysteriously vanished from the historical record. Did they really vanish, or did they just reappear in the biblical record? According to the Bible, 2 of Jesus' 12 disciples